Hello, and thanks for joining us on Movie Night Memories. You must remember this, a podcast that focuses on movies and our favorite memories of them. Each week, we discuss the films that are celebrating an anniversary from when they came out in theaters. My name is Sword Alexander, and I'm joined by the inspiration of this podcast, my mom, Tracy.
Good evening, everybody.
This week, we're talking about movies released between February 16th through the 22nd. We have Square Dance with a 39th anniversary, The Brady Bunch movie with a 31-year anniversary, and Office Space with a 27-year anniversary. We did start off with a couple other movies this week. We watched a few, actually, that we decided we really didn't want to go into much detail about because we didn't spend too much time with it. But we did try watching Cold Turkey, released in 1971, Blame It on Rio, released in 1984.
Blame that on me?
Yes, I can blame that on you, because you thought it was going to be a different kind of movie.
I thought it was a different movie.
Yes, a movie that you think is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yes, and they were Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yes, this is the movie about real Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Absolutely disgusting. Don't watch it.
It's not disgusting. It's just it's based in Rio, so
I blame it on Rio and you. And then we tried watching
Michael Caine was in it.
Yes. Then we tried watching Parting Glances. That movie was released in 1986. Yeah,
Let's part ways.
Yeah, I parted ways with Parting Glances. But instead, we decided to check out Square Dance, Brady Bunch movie, and Office Space, which we actually finished the whole way through. First, we're going to talk about Square Dance. It was released February 20th, 1987. It was directed by Daniel Petrie, who also directed A Raisin in the Sun, which was done by starred Sidney Poitier. And also, he directed Rocket Gibraltar, one of the worst movies that we saw on this podcast. So with Macaulay Culkin, he was 4 years old, and his other grandfather. Yeah, you know that one. It's one of the worst ones we ever saw.
Okay, maybe we didn't even talk about it.
It was written by... Did we not talk about it?
No,
we talked about it.
No, we didn't.
Well, we did watch it for 1 week and it was awful. It wasn't even worth talking about.
We didn't talk about it.
So it was written by Square Dance was written by Alan Hines, who was the author of the book this film is based on. It takes place in North Texas. It's about a 13-year-old country girl who decides to leave her grandfather's farm to spend time with her estranged mother to find out who her real father is. It stars Winona Ryder as the 13-year-old girl. We have Jason Robards, who plays the grandfather. Jane Alexander, who plays the estranged mother, who recently comes briefly into her daughter's life. And then Rob Lowe has a supporting appearance as a man that lives in where his mother lives, around the same area too. And he gets to know Winona Ryder's character, and they form a bit of a bond with each other. And he also ends up he plays a character who's intellectually disabled. So it's somebody who he's able to get along with her, and she's able to understand more about him too. This movie really shocked me. This was the first time you saw this too, right?
Yeah, I never even heard of it.
Neither have I. So when we saw this...
And it's not even mentioned, I don't think, in his book.
Never.
Rob Lowe's book. I don't think. I'd have to go back and look at the book. But he got a Golden Globe.
He was nominated for a Golden Globe. He did not win.
Oh, he didn't win.
But he was nominated.
I thought you said he won.
I'm pretty sure he didn't win.
I thought you said he won.
Well, I gotta look this up now.
So maybe I misunderstood.
He was nominated.
Okay.
He was nominated.
Okay.
Which this was a big surprise. That I've never heard of this before, and it was a very strange description of the film. I thought, we got to check this out if I can find it. And I was able to find it, and we watched it.
And Winona is very young.
She is. She's very young in this movie. She actually looks like a 13-year-old, maybe like a 12-year-old passing off for. But she's really great in this. I mean, this movie really showed to me how impressively talented she was at such a young age, and it's no wonder she ended up doing more films at a young age, like Edward Scissorhands and Mermaids into her future career as well. Mm-hmm. There's no wonder that she was chosen for these roles, because she really knocks it out of the park in this movie.
It's not that great a movie. No, it's not that. I mean, it's got some good parts in the movie, but it's more like a TV movie.
Yes, it's filmed like a TV movie, but it was marketed as a full-length feature film, and it was. It came out, and it was at film festivals. It got released in theaters. It had a $4 million budget.
I don't remember this movie at all. I didn't even heard of this, and I know everything about Rob Lowe, so this shocked me when you found this movie.
So it's okay. There was only a couple of good parts in it. It kind of reminds me of Save the Tiger, where it's like I only liked one part really. But yeah, I will say it kept me more gripped than some other films that what I would consider are lower than usual mediocre quality.
Jane Alexander was very good in it too.
Oh, she was great. And that's the thing. The acting keeps the story together. The story is not that good, but the acting is what keeps you engaged because you want to see how things end and how things kind of falter and fall apart. What is the journey that's going to lead up to the end of it all? How is this going to end?
There's nothing to me that makes it so. It must be the book that really emphasizes about the square dancing, because there's no emphasis to me so much about the square dancing. The real emphasis to me is about this little girl trying to find herself through finding her real father.
The only connection I can see about the idea of a square dance, and they have one scene in the movie, and it's the grandfather explaining and showing her how to do a square dance, and it makes sense because in a way, a square dance is about having to work with somebody else that you may not always get along with in order to work together on something near the end. So it's kind of about her trying to make these connections with people and work with people that she may not be used to in order to go through a journey.
In the South, there's always these dances. And so he had a dance with his wife, and there was a relationship there. Mm. And so, and he played the harmonica, and he showed her how to square dance. So then there was another scene where she showed Rob Lowe, the intellectually challenged young man, how to square dance.
And I would say, but what I mean is that symbolically, it's about her trying to do square dances with different people in her life and trying to form that connection. So symbolically, that's where the square dance comes from. But it just doesn't fit with the title of this film. And at the end of the day, this film is not about a square dance. It's not physically about it. It's not literally about it. It is not metaphorically about it. It really isn't. It's about, there was a great title that you had for it. You were going to call it Wildflowers.
Lone Star Wildflower.
Lone Star Wildflower, because one of the scenes is when she's riding on a bus from her grandfather's farm to Fort Worth. She sees a bunch of wildflowers next to the highway.
And I told you, I said that Lady Bird Johnson, President Johnson's wife, had the idea of putting wildflowers throughout the highways to make them more beautiful. And I said, Lady Bird Johnson had the idea to do that. And I learned that later. And I said, Lone Star would be a beautiful name for the movie. And you said, how about Wildflower? I said, Lone Star Wildflower. So
it's supposed to be a little, it's kind of about.
And she's a wildflower.
Yeah, and it's about kind of where they're from and where it goes.
And she's a Lone Star, and she's a wildflower. So it could be either or. But anyway.
At the end of the day, I really wasn't gripped too much into this movie outside of the performances till near the very end, and it really, there was a great scene. I'm not going to get into the details of it too, but it was fantastic. It was so realistic, and it was so powerful from what you'd expect from a real broken family trying to make things work, and it just falls apart. And it's hard to watch, but in a really good way, where it's like you're watching a really good play finally come to life. And
the Tennessee Williams play.
Yeah.
It was almost like a Tennessee Williams
It really
play.
was. And I wish we had seen more of that earlier on. There wasn't enough on that end to keep it going too. I thought the ending was a little bit, I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending, but you know what? I get it. How the story ends, I kind of get it. I understand it too.
I didn't like what happened with the Rob Lowe's character. I didn't like any of that. I thought that was just, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So it was, but I liked some of the acting. But it wasn't.
So what would you give this movie out of 5 stars?
A 2.5. And the only reason is because of the acting.
Yeah. The only reason I would give it my score, which is a 2.5 as well, is because the acting is so good in it. Because it really is. Everything stands out. Rob Lowe is great in it. I wish I'd seen a little bit more of him. I wish we'd gotten to know his family life more, because there was a lot to work with him as a character. They just spent a lot of time looking at stuff, and I don't know.
They needed more of him. And in fact, you and I both thought that a lot of his character was so resembling of. Go ahead.
Forrest Gump. And I saw
this was made before Forrest Gump.
Well, Forrest kind of sounded like him because he kind of had that accent too. This movie came out in 1987. Forrest Gump was in '94, and I thought, man, I'm seeing a lot of. I'm not seeing a lot, but I'm seeing some.
A lot.
I'm seeing a lot. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of similarities between this character and Forrest, where they're not stupid. Stupid is as stupid does, But I see some similarities in how they react to the world. They're just a little slow. They're pretty smart, but they just have some issues holding on to things. And I was kind of surprised. It was like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump, but not in a way where it was ripped off. It's like I could see where some inspiration may have come from. So I thought it was very interesting.
Very, very much so.
So anyway, the movie did not do that well. It made $225,000 on a $4 million budget. So you weren't the only one who didn't know about this movie. Apparently nobody knew about this movie except the 20,000 people who bought a ticket to see this in a film festival.
No. So I don't know. I'm just telling you. Yeah.
I've seen worse, but the acting is what keeps it together. If the acting wasn't as good, it really would have fallen apart. But despite all of that, I really think that Winona Ryder was the standout star of this film when it comes to her acting and her performances.
Well, Jane Alexander was really good. She really looked like one of those women from those kinds of areas that, left their child and feels guilty about it, but at the end of the day, knew that there was nothing they could do but to disappoint.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Mm-hmm. I did like that, just real quick, I did like that character development between, the granddaughter, the mother, and then the grandfather, because the grandfather, the mother left because she couldn't stand the grandfather's tight conservative ways, and like that he was too tough on her. So then he ends up raising the granddaughter, and the granddaughter does grow up with his ways, but she also kind of can't stand him because he's too resentful and he's too much of a bitter old man, and he drives her crazy, and to the point where she has to leave as well. She goes on.
Well, there was a situation that occurred.
Yes.
There was a situation that occurred.
And she thought, I cannot stand being in this house with you anymore because this is too much. And it wasn't abuse or anything like that, but it was something it was a very intense, moral situation that she could not stand it anymore. She thought, you're not acting the way that you taught me, and I can't live in this house anymore. I thought it was very interesting that he raised her the way that he wanted to raise his daughter, and it still fell apart for him. And I think it really showed him at the end of the movie that I cannot teach that, and I can't teach one way or another way. It has to be.
Yeah, but she was still trying to find her father.
Mm-hmm.
She still wanted to be accepted by her mother.
Right, she wanted answers because nobody was giving her answers.
But she still wanted to be accepted by her mother.
Yes.
And that's a typical 13-year-old, typical teenager. I want my mother to love me, and I want to find out about my father.
This clearly shows that this movie has some good stable ground to walk on. It's just that execution-wise, it didn't succeed as much as it should have. But it shows we're still talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Anyway, let's move on. We're going to move on to the Brady Bunch movie. It was released February 17th, 1995. It was directed by Betty Thomas, and it was written by by four people: Laurice Elowany, Rick Kopp, and Bonnie and Terry Turner. Now, I'm not too familiar with the first two, but Bonnie and Terry Turner are known to have created the That 70s Show and The Third Rock from the Sun. So this I would say it's pretty important to you because that's one of your favorite shows of all time, That 70s Show.
Oh, it's a favorite. It's not one of my favorite. I mean, it's not a favorite. It's a favorite, but it's not like of all time. But
it's one of your favorites, yes.
It's a favorite, but it's not one of all time.
So,
but it's a favorite.
And it's about a satirical look on if the Brady Bunch lived in the 1990s. Now, I didn't grow up with the show, so why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience growing up watching the show with your family?
Well, we thought it was kind of the cheesy show when we were growing up, but we identified with it because there were 6 of us. So 3 boys, 3 girls with the Brady Bunch. But we thought it was a cheesy show, first of all. We wrote, this isn't realistic. We knew that this wasn't realistic. But we identified with the show because we had 3 boys, 3 girls, and the girls had blue eyes and the boys had brown eyes. And my dad had brown eyes and the girls had more blue eyes. But some girls were, like my sister Roxy, her eyes got more greenish as she got older. But we identified with the show because of the amount of children, but we were from the same father and mother. We weren't like, they got married later in life and everything. But we identified with the show, and we liked the show. We thought it was a cute show, but we knew it was cheesy and corny. But we still liked it, Mm-hmm. So some of us liked it more than others, but we still thought it was cheesy and corny. And we liked the cheesiness and the corniness of it because it just was the Brady Bunch. And that's the way it was,
Now, with that in mind, do you really believe that this movie properly, because this took place 20 years after the Brady Bunch, I don't know when the Brady Bunch show ended, but the Brady Bunch generally took place in the 1970s.
It started like 69 and then ended like 73 or 74, I can't remember exactly.
20 years later, give or take.
Yeah.
And it takes place in the 1990s now. Do you think that they properly were able to recreate the feeling of that show in this movie?
Well, it's satirically, yes. They made fun of it. It was hilarious. This show, we loved this movie. My family, we were looking forward to this movie. And we celebrated it. We couldn't wait to see this movie. We loved it because it was so funny. We couldn't wait. We thought it was hilarious.
Now, this movie was released in 1995. Do you believe that it properly did a proper portrayal of the 1990s around that time frame?
Yes.
About how people acted and how what people were listening to as well.
What was the...
About how people acted.
Yes, I heard that part.
And what kind of music they were listening to.
Yes. The grunge and stuff. Yeah. It was good. It was really good. We loved it. We celebrated it. We thought it was hilarious. We couldn't wait to see it again. We thought it was, and we thought it was a hilarious depiction.
Was it talked about a lot besides your family? Was it talked about around your office life, work life, whatever?
I don't know. I don't remember that. We thought it was funny, and that's all that mattered. And we had a friend of our family that we said he was another Brady. Our friend Kevin. We called him the other Brady. So he loved it more than we did, really.
Which is funny because he kind of looked like a Brady if you squint at him a little bit.
Yeah, so it was just hilarious. So we loved the Marsha, and it was just, and then how it went really off the scale of Psycho, and it just went. It was more than what we expected. It was much more than what we expected, and so when I saw it with you, it was even better. It was even better than I remembered. And I forgot about the afro. I forgot about that. I forgot about all kinds of stuff. And so I love this movie. I'd give it a 5 because it's so funny and silly. Because I love that kind of stuff.
I thought it was very funny too. And I'm glad we had a chance to see this movie since I'm not somebody affiliated at all with the show. I remember Grandma having it on her TV, when I was a kid. We'd maybe have it on.
Oh, you mean the show? I thought you meant this movie.
Not the movie. Yeah.
But I remember we would get up and do that Marsha dance with the thumb.
Uh-huh.
And we did that with this movie. We were all up doing the dance.
And they're recreating the dance right now.
Yeah. We get up and do the dance with the thumb. And oh my God. We just thought it was the most hilarious thing. Oh my God. And then the nose part. We knew all of them. We all knew, and the bikes, Kevin thought just working on their bikes was the most hilarious thing. And I didn't know Jean Smart was in it. I forgot that Jean Smart was in it. She was the lush, and she had the hots for both older boys.
She had the hots for all of the boys.
No, the two older.
The two older boys and the husband.
Yeah, but she didn't have the hots for Bobby. Okay, come on.
But she will eventually.
I didn't know it was Jean Smart. Oh my God. Oh my God. So funny.
So the movie had a $10 to $12 million budget. Nobody has an exact number, but it made $54 million in the box office. So it was a pretty successful hit, and it was relatively well received by critics. Some people didn't like it, some people did. Generally though, People enjoyed it. That was very funny, and I thought it was very funny too. But making fun of the Brady Bunch, and of course making fun of the 90s too.
And I didn't realize that RuPaul was in it.
RuPaul was my favorite part of that movie.
Oh my God.
Seeing RuPaul come out of nowhere like that was great. I love that.
You were like, is that? I said, yes. And I forgot. And Michael McKean's in it. Oh my gosh. It's a great movie. I'm telling you. It's a hidden treasure. Hidden treasure.
So you give it 5 stars. I'd probably give it a 4.
I love this movie. It makes you laugh. It's constantly making you laugh.
My only wish is that they had spent a little bit more time with some of the other Bradys, like Bobby Brady. They had a couple of scenes with him, but I wanted to see more of some of the other Bradys.
It would take too long to. I think that they hit upon some really great.
Well, maybe they spent less time with Marsha. They could have had more time with the other Bradys. So it really
I think you're jealous. I think you're jealous of Jan and Marsha. I think there's a little Brady in you. I'm sorry.
Sure,
I think
Tracy.
there's a little Brady.
Sure, Tracy.
I think there's a little Brady in you.
Okay.
Aw, she's getting scared.
Yeah, she's getting scared. Gloria getting scared of thunderstorm.
Baby girl's getting scared of the thunder.
There's a little thunderstorm outside, so she'll be okay.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Let's move on. We're going to move on to Office Space. It was released February 19th, 1999. It was directed by Mike Judge, who also created Beavis and Butthead, and it was written by Judge as well. It's based off one of his, not only his personal life experience, but also from one of his shorts that he did way back in the day. It's about a software engineer who works at a mundane, emotionally draining office and has a realization about his dead-end job that life is worth more than a 9-to-5. His life changes soon after, coming late to work and speaking his mind without a filter. This is your first time watching it. I've seen parts of it. I've never seen it from the beginning all the way to the end. The first thing you told me when we started watching this movie, you saw The Office and you thought, oh my God, it's my previous job.
It was, yeah. It's very much like when you work in an office back in the 90s. And I've seen other jobs like this, and I've seen other people complain about their jobs back in the 90s. Little cubicles everywhere.
This is a great satire of office life, a great satire of the American dream, about what is there more to life than just consumerism and working and making money and this. All these jokes that you've probably seen over the years later on, like with The Office, the show The Office, and these other aspects in these other comedies that make fun of workplace living, it kind of takes a dip in the water. I'm trying to make a good symbolic metaphor about this from Office Space, where I think it really did change the way that we looked at satires of mundane living and a simple life like that. I've seen other Mike Judge stuff. Idiocracy I was not a big fan of. For the most part, I like the concept. It just fell on its face a lot of the time. And I love Beavis and Butthead mainly from the movie. The Beavis and Butthead movie I didn't expect to like it, and I ended up loving some of the jokes in it. So I really do like Mike Judge's humor. And I was very impressed. I was really impressed with what Office Space did and how it just started to build and grow and grow. And I had a great time watching it.
There was some great moments. I love it when Jennifer Aniston tells off the boss about the flare. I'll show you some flare. Is this enough flare for you?
So it turns, I didn't know this, but the manager in that movie, that was Mike Judge.
Oh, okay.
He had a little cameo in it. I thought that was pretty.
Okay.
I didn't know. It was like, no, that makes sense now too. He's really is a genius when it comes to making fun of the culture that's around him and it's around people in that day and age. That's why Beavis and Butthead was so popular, because it made fun of the people that were living in that time. The metalheads, the rockheads, the dummies, but like in a very loving way, calling them dummies and stuff, and it really worked. And the new show that he did, the revival of Beavis and Butthead, some parts of it were very funny as well, making fun of how life is nowadays too.
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead is my time.
This is the second movie this week that we've seen with Gary Cole. Gary Cole plays the manager, the boss that drives the main character, Ron Livingston, crazy. And he also played the Brady father in the Brady Bunch movies. So it's funny. I swear to God, you're going to laugh at me for this. I did not know. I didn't see the connection between Gary Cole playing the manager and Gary Cole playing
I told you. I said that's him.
And that's how good of an actor he is.
Yeah, he is. He's a great actor.
He really is a chameleon.
And I said that's he played the father in Ricky Bobby.
Yep. And
Talladega Nights.
He did. He's such a transformative.
What's his saying in Talladega Nights?
If you're not first, you're last. If you ain't first, you're last.
You ain't first, you're last.
That is. I just can't get over it. He's such a chameleon. Like that is quintessential. That's an example of an underrated guy who really needs to get more of a spotlight on him.
Yes, that's one of those actors.
He's really great. I've really enjoyed him in this. And I really enjoyed him also. I also really enjoyed him in the Brady Bunch movie.
He's great.
Him and Shelley Long, they knocked it out of the park in that movie. I like them the most in that movie, by the way. But, Gary Cole really had an iconic role in this. And I really like when... My favorite scene in the movie, I'm going to ask for yours too, but my favorite scene in the movie is when, after he comes late to, the main character played by Ron Livingston, after he comes in late to work, the big consultants who are going to lay off a bunch of people happen to be there, and they ask him to, wait, what do you do here and stuff? And they were starting to question whether or not they're going to let him keep his job. And he just says, "You want me to tell you the truth about how I feel about this place?" And he's very honest about how he feels about the place, and he can't stand working there and stuff. And they like his, straight edge so much, his straight talk, that they give him a promotion.
Because he tells them, here's how my day is. And
they like him so much because, not only he's giving him good information, is that they also think he's funny because he's too honest. So then when they bring in the boss to say, hey, we're going to give him a promotion, he's great upper management material, the boss says, that's not a good idea. He's lazy and stuff. And then instead of them thinking, oh, okay, they think, well, let's talk about you now. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Everything about that was great.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's really hilarious.
It really is one of the funniest movies of that year. I can see why it's a cult hit to this day, and it deserved more than it did back then. But that begs the question, do you remember anything about when this movie came out in 1999?
I remember there was a big discussion about it, okay? But I was so busy working at my office. I didn't have time.
The ultimate satire. I'm too busy working my job to watch a movie about working a job.
And I was going through a really bad divorce. I didn't have time to laugh at myself to watch that movie, if you must know. Seriously. But there was a big talk about it. And that it's supposed to be this hilarious movie. But yeah, it was talked about big time. At the time, I remember.
So it had a $10 million budget, which that's kind of low considering what they went through. I'm just kind of impressed. And they did $12 million at the box office. It probably didn't make its money back after all that.
Yeah, but I think that there was more rental of this movie.
There probably was a lot more rental.
Because I remember people renting this movie, and they'd say, "You want to come over and watch Office Space?" I'm like, I gotta get leads tonight. I gotta
do my Office Space. I gotta be in my Office Space.
I gotta work on leads tonight. We used to go home and get leads at my job and work on leads.
So with all that said, what would you give it out of 5 stars?
I'd give it a 3.5. 3.5.
I give it a 4. Because it's just like Brady Bunch movie. It's a great satire of real life. And it's challenging what you'd expect out of it. We never even talked about Milton. The poor Milton with his stapler and with having to change office spaces. Which I thought that was a great ending for him, too. I love how he kept muddling to himself that he was going to burn the place down.
There were some things that were missing in the movie. That's why I give it a 3.5. There's some things that I didn't think... There was just some things missing.
They could have done a little bit more with it. And I wasn't...
Some editing problems.
Yeah.
There's some editing problems. That's why.
It kind of reminded me of the 40-Year-Old Virgin and how they film it and how they kind of piece the story together.
Yeah.
But I think problems. Where this movie faltered, the 40-Year-Old Virgin succeeded in some aspects of that too. It's actually similar to that movie where I enjoy it, but there are problems with it that I can't really stand. But I had a better time watching this all the way through than...
But I think that there was some minor... That's why but there's some editing problems.
Great. Yeah, I'd give it a 4. I genuinely thought it was a great time, and it was a good time parody, satirizing and making fun of that day and age, and how it can still reflect off of today too. It is timeless. It truly is timeless about how people work and how people work at these places, and how work takes over your life and stuff like that too. I think it's still timeless to this day. So, with that said, that's all we had time to really watch this week.
Yes.
This was a very interesting week for movies. I had a good time.
Yes.
It was a good week. But we have more to watch. Hope you guys have a safe week. Had a good Valentine's Day week. Whatever that was. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'm tired. I've had a long day. So you guys have a great week, and we will see you guys next time.
See you at the movies.
See you at the movies.